You are a radio programmer, like legendary. What exactly is a programmer?
It's the person that decides.
It was all a dream.
How many artists you feel like you've broken? What are you listening for? Because everybody thinks that a hit is something different, and you've actually done it at a very high level. So what are you listening for?
I look for.
Damn.
You know what I mean? So
a lot of people don't know he wrote that record.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that.
It was all a dream.
Dre called me to A&M Studios where they were doing it, and I picked the beat for him.
Who was the first rapper you wanted to work with? Got some hits out there, young fella.
Come on.
The state of music today, what do you think the issue is with hip-hop, R&B?
Did you see the movie Weird Science?
I want to talk about AI for a second.
It has to be about the creator, or it doesn't have soul.
It's the man behind the music, y'all. It's the man behind the music, y'all. It's the man behind the music, y'all.
The man behind the music.
This an opportunity you can't pass up. Driven in the V9 engine, yeah, that's a fast truck. Different, see how we living, we never had much. Gotta give thanks, Big Tank done got us gassed up. DNA, I'ma rap to the viewers and put the beats on whoever. We got platinum producers, that's in the future. And if we talking, then it's top dollar. Don't make me go get my dogs, I got rock wobble. This ain't what they need, what they wanna hear. Fine, I'll go get the nonsense, Mr. Porter here. Them opportunities can't miss, so they flew by. I'm talking New York, New Hampshire to Dubai. We gotta bring it all together, yeah, that's unity. If you from LA, can't dodge an opportunity. Name a better list, you know we never miss. The only place you speak to labels and executives. It's the man behind the music, y'all. It's the man behind the music, y'all. It's the man behind the music, y'all.
The man behind the music.
Yo, I'm Big Tank, and I present to you the man behind the music. Let's get it.
Behind the music.
Yo, what up, everybody? I'm Big Tank, the host of The Man Behind the Music, and today I got a real special guest for you. Not only is he my boy, for real, not only is he my boy, but outside of being a crazy DJ, he's probably the best radio programmer ever to be born on the planet.
Keep going, keep
I'm
going.
just gonna give it to you, you know what I'm saying? Because he got it like that. This is my man, Damizza. Not only has he shaped the sound on the whole country, but on the West Coast specifically from working with Nate Dogg, Ice Cube, Dr. Dre, DJ Quick, you name him, Snoop Dogg, you name him, this man has touched them all. So ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Damizza. All right.
And we've been homies for decades.
Yeah, nah, man.
You know what I mean?
You're telling our
Going
age,
back, you know,
man.
when you had just signed Neo, I don't know if you remember this, but when you had just found Neo, you and I did a song together.
Damn, Schaefer Smith.
Isn't that
Now
crazy?
Neo, yeah.
We sampled that Feeling It.
Yeah.
You gotta find that. Classic.
The days. All right, so like
Anyway.
I said, he's also a dope producer. So we know about DJing and we know about production.
Mm-hmm.
You are a radio programmer, like legendary. What exactly is a programmer?
It's the person that decides how many times you're going to hear a record a week. It's the person that picks the DJs. I've never considered myself a radio programmer. I always considered Power 106 my boom box.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
So like your personal radio.
You know, I always consider myself the DJ of the house party. You know what I mean? And picking records and, you know, all of that. I looked at it that way. I never played the record company's singles. That's why we were so successful, is we never went along with what everybody else did. We went against the grain because, you know, I've talked about this before. Jay-Z, remember right after Ain't No.
Yeah.
He had Sunshine, he had Feeling It, he had Wish on a Star.
Driving the hottest cars, moving out with our moms and all.
He had all of these records. If I was a radio programmer, I would have given up.
Why?
You know what I mean? And well, because you have 5 or 6 stiffs like that back to back. Def Jam's not feeling you at the time, you know. And Leor was basically saying that they weren't going to renew the budget for Rockefeller. So I would have just given up.
So what did
But
you go
Jay
with?
Brown and Jay-Z were, you know, friends.
Right.
So when they came with Can I Get A, Irv Gotti, rest in peace, and
Right.
Hard Knock Life, it was like, okay, we got something we can run with. You know what I mean? And in Hard Knock Life, they thought was a novelty record.
I flow for those strolled out, All my niggas locked down in a 10x4.
And we're back because y'all know that was a smash.
Well,
So go ahead.
but what happened with that record, what had happened is Steve Smith in New York at Hot 97, this was the very first entrance into me getting involved in Hot 97, is they played it and the research came back and it said that it was novelty and it wasn't going to work. So we broke it on the West Coast.
Wow.
We had good research on the West Coast.
I didn't know
I
that.
called Steve Smith and I said, nah, give it 2 more weeks. And it ended up coming back.
That record's a smash.
And then, you know, I always thought outside of the box, like how can we make Jay-Z an even bigger artist? Because if Jay was a bigger artist and we broke Jay-Z, then he would have loyalty to our radio station.
Right.
So when we did powerhouses or whatever, we needed that, then he would be a bigger artist. So I would think long term. So I thought, okay, well, DJ Clue produced Mariah Carey's new single. Wait a minute, Jay-Z should rap on that. And that's where I learned synergy. Consistency and repetition breeds familiarity. Familiarity breeds a relationship. Relationship breeds teamwork and or synergy, and synergy wins games. So if I could do all of this under the umbrella of Power 106, and to answer your question, normally program directors don't think like this.
Right.
But, you know, I put Mariah and Jay together to do Heartbreaker, which was Jay's first #1, and brought Mariah to the streets again. Kind of how it all worked. At the time, Jay Brown came in and was Jay's new manager.
Right.
I just put Dre and Snoop together
Shout out
for
to Jay Brown,
2001.
good dude, my brother. That's
Good dude.
One of the good ones. Go ahead.
But Jay's wife works with Magic Johnson.
Right.
So when Dre wanted to take the Up in Smoke thing on tour, no venues would take him. And they had Eminem. So it was Eminem, Dr. Dre, and Snoop Dogg. And it was during the end of the Death Row era. You know, Biggie had just got shot, rest in peace, who was sitting in my office the morning that he died. I think I was the last person to record him. You know what I mean? And then you had the Pac thing and all of that, so no venue would insure it. So I'm like, well, why don't we get Jay Brown to get Magic Johnson to help that? And that opened the door for Jay-Z to do Still DRE.
I'm representing for the gangsters all across the world. Still hitting them corners and them lolos, girl. Still.
Damn.
You know what I mean? So
a lot of people don't know he wrote that record.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah,
and it was
Jay-Z
also Scott Storch's first night, but actually Dre called me to A&M Studios where they were doing it, and I picked the beat for Still DRE.
Damn.
He says, this right for Jay to write to. And a lot of people don't know this. That was the second record that Jay wrote. There was Big John.
Of course.
Love Big John.
My guy, Big John.
Big John.
Big
Put them
John,
together.
what up, baby?
You know, love Big John. And they had put them together to do a song called Malibu Dre. And it was still in that aftermath kind of, you know, like the been there, done that kind of feel.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And it just didn't come out the right way. You know what I mean? And Dre was like, do you think we should give him another shot? And what do you think of this beat? And I said, that beat, right up his alley, do it.
And Jay-Z went in.
And a week later, he calls me back to the studio and says, I got it. I took it out of the CD player and was walking out of the door. He goes, where are you taking my record? And I said, to play it. And that's what a real program director do.
And A&R and producer and all that.
And I put it on Power 106, Hot 97, and 32 stations at the same time.
Damn.
And that's how we launched Still DRE.
That's what I'm
And
talking about.
And that project, 2001, I mean, I was involved in every aspect. Like, it was me, Dre, and the mastering guy. Do you know what I mean? From beginning to end.
If I had to ask you how many artists you feel like you've broken over your career.
Too many to count. You know, going back to alternative, whether it's No Doubt or Hootie and the Blowfish, or Garbage, and all of those, I mean, there's been 2 phases of my career. The alternative phase, which, you know, was right at the cusp, you couldn't count it. You know, whether it's Ja Rule, whether it's Ashanti, whether it's Fat Joe, whether it's Jay-Z, whether it's Big Pun, you know, I mean, I took Big Pun off a video cassette, started playing it before New York. My first promotion was Puffy in Paradise, and we broke all the Biggie records. You know, I mean, we broke Puffy as an artist. Can't nobody hold me down in the Benjamins.
Can't nobody take my pride. Can't nobody hold me down.
You know, it's funny. A friend of mine said the other day, like, do you realize your impact on popular culture?
No, I'm
what
over here
if you
thinking the
just
same
said,
thing.
I'm not putting Dre and Snoop back together? Like, imagine that.
What would have happened?
What would have happened? No 50 Cent, no Exhibit, no.
We don't see the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, and the Super Bowl was basically our Hawaii show. When I put them together for the first time, it wasn't for a record. It was because I'm a fan. I wanted to see the show. That's why I look at it like my boombox. It wasn't, they didn't have a single. There was no reason to put Dre and Snoop back together from a record company standpoint. And Jimmy Iovine even called me and cussed me out for doing it.
Damn.
You know what I mean? Like, put me on the hook for his promo budget. You know what I mean?
How do you even become a program director? How do you apply for that job?
Well, I was 12 years old, and my grandma got me a boombox for Christmas.
Okay.
And they got me Abracadabra by the Steve Miller Band and Survivor, Eye of the Tiger.
Okay.
I was not a big rock fan. I was an NWA fan. I was a DJ Quick fan. Right?
From the jump?
From the jump. Just
Okay.
the first time I heard Gangsta Gangsta and Boys in the Hood.
Cause the boys in the hood are always hard. You come talking that trash, we'll pull your car.
DJ Quick, it was like having McDonald's for the first time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I finally found what it was. I flipped the radio switch because I wasn't into the cassettes, and they gave out the phone number, the request line. It just so happens that Michael Newman and Steve Smith, the rest in peace, who is the biggest radio programmers in the world, that developed the rotation system, were the DJs on the radio in my local hometown of Santa Barbara. I just kept calling and calling and calling, and finally Michael just said, come down and be an intern. So at 12 years old, I was an intern at my local radio station.
Damn.
And then one night, the overnight jock didn't show up, and I was doing 7 to midnight with Michael, just pressing the buttons. You know, like in La Bamba, you know, one guy's sitting in front of the mic like this, and then you have another guy that's doing
controlling everything.
Yeah, so that was me. Well, that led to doing 7 to midnight, then being the music director. And then
Not at 12. You got a little older,
at like
right?
15. I was 15, but I was the night jock doing 7 to midnight as a radio DJ and going to high school.
Damn.
You know what I mean? So they let me program my own shows so I could pick the records and everything from Gerardo and Marky Mark and, you know, CNC Music Fact, all of that stuff. Ice Ice Baby.
Ice, baby. All right, stop. Collaborate and listen.
I mean, a lot of those records were what was popping at the time. When I was about 17, the program director left, and they said, do you want this gig? So I was the youngest program director, really in history, of a BDS level station. I broke this group called Garbage.
I'm only happy when it rains.
I asked him for a favor to do this small club in Santa Barbara. And the industry, everybody came because they're like, how did you get this platinum band to do a 200-seat club? And a 17-year-old did it?
Right.
You know, 18-year-old?
Right.
So a lot of people came, and Bruce St. James from Power 106 came, and I said, look, I just want a job at Power 106. So they said, all we got is a board op position, pressing those buttons again on Sunday nights. And I said, I'll take it. I'll wash the vans. I'll do whatever it takes. And they said, all right. You know, so I walked in, and Curtis Blow was who I was working for.
So at that time, who were the DJs at Power? Do you remember?
Oh, it was the Baker Boys. Big Boy had just started Nights. You had C-, you had Mr. Chalk, you had the Almighty Roughnecks, you had E-Man, you had all the OGs. So I was learning from all of them. And then when Curtis Blow left, Ice-T came in.
Okay.
So I was learning hip hop from Curtis Blow,
And
Ice-T.
Two legends.
And then, you know, they said the music director position opened up. And February 3rd, 1997, I started as a guy who picks the records. But I didn't want to continue playing dance music and R&B and rap and all of this. I wanted to focus on West Coast gangster rap. And they told me I was crazy. They said rap was over. They said Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg is over. Yeah.
Shit.
They said all of this, and you have to remember, that was right after Vanilla Ice, MC Hammer, all of this, and people were moving towards rapless versions and, doing all, it was during that time. And plus, we had just lost Pac, you know what I mean? So rap and the East-West feud was at its peak. So they're like, we don't want any part of this. You know what I mean? And that's why I had to do the Diddy show first and break Diddy first. We sold more records in LA than they did in New York.
For Diddy's project?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Because the first promotion I did was Puffy in Paradise.
Okay.
Which was where we did it in Hawaii. He took over the radio station.
I want to get into the concert parts of things, but I want to ask you, when you're looking for a hit, whether it be a new artist or an artist who may be established, but you're going through their stuff, what are you listening for, D? Like, what are you listening for? And what do you think people are going to really gravitate to? Because, on the Man Behind the Music, I get submissions from people, and we're going to go over some of those submissions in a little bit. Everybody thinks that a hit is something different. And you've actually done it. at a very high level. So what are you listening for?
I look for what they're not listening to right now. Look, DJ Quick gave me the best advice ever. When in doubt, use your fucking ears. You know what I mean? I'm looking for the hairs on my arm to stand up. I'm looking for the chills. You know what I mean? I'm looking for something that's different and outside of the box, but you know, and just good music. If I would play something loud in my office and the street team came in and said, yo, that's dope, then I'd give it a shot. You know, the record companies and all of that and the singles way of doing things isn't always correct.
Right.
You know, like when they did City Is Mine by Jay-Z, we put that on the radio, it didn't react. So I grabbed I Know What Girls Like off the album, started playing that, which ended up getting them the budget for the next single.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's finding those songs that are moments in time, not just songs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's doing something different. You know what I mean?
You're basically like an A&R for the radio station.
It really is. That's a great way to put it. I'm gonna steal that music.
Coin it, Big Tank. So,
All respect due.
how did you get into production? Like, what made you go from hearing it to, you know what, I think I can push these buttons and make this thing hot?
Doing 7 to midnight when I was in high school, I wouldn't go to sleep after I get off the air from midnight to like 6 a.m. and then I had to go to school. So I had to figure out something to do between midnight and 8 a.m. So I bought a W30 keyboard.
Eric Sermon's
You know what I
weapon of
mean?
choice.
So I got that, and then I graduated K2000s and all of that, and I was a DJ. So if you were a DJ, then you wanted to produce. I got the keyboard, and I just started making beats just to kill the time. We were watching Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory one day, and I took Biggie's Warning, slowed it down for the drum beat, and then I had my friend come in and replay Pure Imagination, just as a joke.
In a world of pure imagination.
You know, because I was still learning the game.
Right.
Well, that tape, I filed away and didn't think much of it. And then I met Mariah Carey because I was playing Head Over Heels.
Baby, please don't deny what you're feeling inside.
We ended up making a friendship and doing radio. I advised her on how to do radio in LA and, you know, just became another ear because she was separating from Sony at the time.
Right.
So, you know, her ex-husband was the CEO. So there wasn't a lot of good advice around her.
Right.
So she started to gravitate towards me as an advisor. So one day she asked me like, yo, what else do you do? And I said, I make beats in my room. And she's like, well, send me a tape. I was like, oh, no. We ain't doing that.
Mariah Carey.
Yeah, and she's like, no, send me a tape. So you remember how back in the day on the cassettes, we'd put tape over the top of the cassettes
so you can record over it.
re-record over
Yeah.
it? Well, I had done that, and then I put like 4 beats, and then I just let the tape run. You know what I'm saying? And she was doing hair and makeup one day, played the 4 beats. She didn't like any of them. And then she just went on with her hair and makeup. But I didn't record far enough. And the Willy Wonka beat came on. And she said, what is this? And I was like, oh, no, that's embarrassing.
Oh.
So I was just like, yo, that's Willy Wonka. There's no way we're going to be able to clear this. It was written by Leslie Recuse and Anthony Newley.
Carey, who's not clearing that?
Well, so that gave me the best lesson that I ever learned in music that I still to this day, because when Leslie Recuse heard the song, they're like, so what are you doing, stealing my song? Because it was interpolation, and interpolations weren't the thing then. It was sampling.
Right.
You didn't really replay like that. She said, what's this? The label said, we're not going to be able to get this cleared. Leslie Recuse said, I want to talk to the producer. So the next thing you know, I'm on with the guy who wrote fucking Candyman. Do you know what I mean? Like, and the best advice that he gave is he goes, look, I don't want any more or any less than anyone else. I just want to be treated with respect.
There it is.
So then I had to call Sturgis and be like, yo, hey, you know, if Brenda K. Starr, shout out to Brenda K. Starr, love Brenda, if they'll slide on half of the publishing just for the remix, then we can put this record out. And they said yes. So Crazy Bone, the Brat, Mariah Carey was the first record that I produced, I still believe.
Yo, light the room up, man. Fire it up, fire it up, man.
Not bad for a first run, right?
Hell no, man.
But I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I remember just being so scared And walking in there and up to Dana John Chappelle, great engineer, you know, done everything, Celine Dion and, you know, all of that stuff.
Right.
And just saying, bro, I don't know my ass from a hole in the ground here. You're going to have to show me how to track a record out of my K2000s and the W30. And he took the time to show me. And that's where the name Damizza came from. Because when I was doing radio at the same time and having Tommy on our bumper like that, they were like, a radio guy producing this record, it's not going to look right. They're going to think you're doing it for airplay. So RZA happened to be working next door. And Mariah's like, Damion. Oh, by the way, RZA's next door. Damizza.
So
that's your
how
new
you
name.
got your name.
And that's how I got my name.
So Mariah names you.
Mariah Tracy Waples. Came up with that.
Yeah, these stories are epic and legendary.
I'm more like the Forrest Gump of hip hop, really. You know, or the music industry. I just happen to be there when something cool happened, and I just stay in the moment. I don't go down the rabbit holes. I don't think down, you know, master plan, this and that. I stay in the moment. Let the momentum happen. You know, I say that I'm a pin of a divine hand, and I just surrender to that and stay in that.
So now you're making records, right? You're on the West Coast. People know you. You know all of us. You know every producer out here. You know all the rappers. Who was the first rapper you wanted to work with, like on the West Coast? Like your favorite? Like, you know what? If I get the opportunity to work with this guy,
it was Corrupt and Nate Dogg.
Welcome to Oz. Surprise. Representing Overdose.
Damn.
Nate Dogg, rest in peace.
Right.
And Nate became one of my best friends.
Yeah, Nate
you know,
was a
we
great
spent
guy. Rest in
so I
peace.
produced Music and Me for Nate Dogg.
Music and me. Time must change.
I did Where I Want to Be for Nate Dogg.
This is where I want to be.
With KG from Naughty by Nature.
Classic record.
We ain't got us, nigga, where I wanna be.
So that was the first records where I cut my teeth. You know what I mean? I went to KG and said, teach me. And KG was nice enough to give me the beat for Where I Want to Be and trust me to put the vocals on it.
Yeah.
He said, you produce the vocals, you do that, I'll give you the beat, starter kit, go.
That's dope.
And I went to Nate and Corrupt first, and they blessed me. And then from that day forward, Nate, Corrupt, and I mean, I did Smoke Odyssey, I did, you know, a lot of stuff with Rupt, and you know, Nate and I just clicked in a way, you know, that was dope. And I mean, when I did the title track of Music and Me, you know, that was it. You know what I mean? That was that bridge. And then, you know, Lights Out by West Side Connection and, you know, a lot of other things came out of it. You know, because I was in radio, people started to say, well, if I get you to produce this, then you'll play it.
Play the record.
And I was just like, look, so I pulled back on producing. Like,
Okay.
I just kind of...
Did you feel like it was double dipping or like
I was
like
like,
an unfair
well,
advantage?
and like with Mariah, I didn't charge for that. You know what I mean? I didn't get paid for I Still Believe.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I said, I don't want the money. I don't want to, you know, I'm not, we
wanna
can't
change
play
it.
this anyway.
Yeah.
You know, it's an R&B record that we're not going to be able to play on Power. So it's a clear runway for me. You know what I mean? But I also did Cry Baby with Snoop Dogg with her.
Find relief on the radio. Suppressing the tears, let me start to flow.
You got some hits out there, young fella.
Come on.
So now you've produced, you've been A&R on radio stations as a PD. You guys are doing these tours, and you guys do huge concerts. How did you put those together, and what are they called? And walk us through that.
Well, the first shows that I did were powerhouses. Radio festivals and doing radio shows had always been a part of what I did,
Right.
you know, even in Santa Barbara with, you know, for instance, No Doubt, when we started with No Doubt, I'd have him come to the radio station and play acoustic before the big shows, or like the Garbage thing that got me my gig.
Right.
You know, it was just doing big names in small venues to start buzzes. And the first show that I did was a powerhouse at the House of Blues with Jermaine Dupri and Snoop Dogg and, you know, all of these. And that's what kind of started that buzz. So then we developed it into the Arrowhead Pond.
Okay.
And we also would do these smaller venues like the Hawaii thing. So I was thinking, look, if I can get Dre and Snoop together and do it in Hawaii, then I could get it sponsored. We could do flyaways, and the listeners would go nuts
Right, of
because
course.
it's 200 tickets plus airfare plus hotel
Right,
in
right.
Hawaii to see Dre and Snoop.
Right.
And then Eminem came out. You know, I mean, and it was like we added him to the show, and it was right at the peak of Hi, My Name Is.
My name is. My name is. What? My name is. His name's Sadie.
What was a Dre and Snoop reunion without a single turned into Dre, Snoop, and Eminem, which turned into the Up in Smoke tour.
You've done so many things. You've touched music in such a amazing way, D.
Oh, thank you, brother.
I mean, I'm just being honest, man. And there's a million stories we could go over, but I want to kind of catch up a little bit.
Yeah.
The state of music today, what do you think the issue is with hip-hop, R&B? You know, we're just not seeing the numbers that we once saw. And I know it's a huge question, but if you can kind of summarize it, what's the problem, man?
Did you see the movie Weird Science?
Of course.
In your race for power and glory, you forgot to hook up the doll. You know, what happens is the scene in that movie where these two kids want to create this great thing.
Yep.
And it was a girl.
What would you little maniacs like to do first?
And there was a process
Kelly
to make
LeBrock,
that
if
happen.
I'm not mistaken.
Huh? Yeah,
Kelly
Kelly
LeBrock,
LeBrock.
if I'm not mistaken.
But there was a process to making it happen. You know what I mean? You had to do these steps and you had to do them in the right way. And then these two cool kids come in and they want to bypass a couple of the steps and just get cool real fast. And that's where we are with the industry right now, is they forgot the steps that made us great. Artist development, concerts, and developing artists on the road to incubate the fan base. And now with streaming, you know, if you look at it like this, you look at the UN numbers, half the world does not have internet.
Yeah.
Half the world. And only 26% of Americans can afford the data plans on their cell phones. So you're not reaching into the nooks and crannies of the inner cities and the areas. Look, in metros or in the big cities, New York, Los Angeles, all of those places, you have Wi-Fi, you're spoiled.
Right.
You can get internet by going to a Starbucks. But a lot of people outside of the metros in the inner cities and in the rural areas aren't using their data plans. One playlist would eat up their whole data plan for the month. So they can't afford that. So you're not incubating the culture. The records that rock and blues and alternative and rap, all of these formats are incubated from the inner cities and low-income areas. You know, like DJs, for instance, back in the day, their main goal was to get into Hollywood, right? But if you started in Hollywood, it wouldn't work.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Work your way up.
You have to work your way up. It's like if I took, artists would come to me all the time and say, if I could just get on the radio, I'd win.
Right.
It doesn't work like that.
Nah.
It will fly over everybody's head.
I got you now.
So
Okay.
streaming is flying over everyone's
You
head
never build it up.
without the build, without the support.
No, that
of
makes
it.
sense. You know,
You know what I
I
mean?
don't know if I ever thought about it that way, because it's any career. You
Yeah.
build it up slowly,
Right.
and you add people as you go. And
But-
what we're doing now with streaming is a lot of people are just putting out songs because you can, and if something catches, it just kind of catches.
But it's
and
passive.
it's gone. Yeah, it's gone.
You know, it's not, look, music for the soul is soul music.
Right.
And it has to be done in person. It has to be done organically. When you're on your phone, that's passive. When you're on the radio, that's passive.
Right.
But when someone's driving down the street in the car and bumping it and you're going, oh, what is that? That's organics.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you can touch the artist, that's organics.
Right.
But what happens is the tech companies and the record companies are now making more money off the data and not the records.
Mm-hmm.
So they want the data money. They want to keep you on that phone as long as they possibly can. So there's no outside vibe. There's no organics to it. You're not having direct organic contact with the artist and the music. So there's no translation. So right now it's about momentum and TikTok and all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, there's an old saying in the music business. You can have one record that sells 1 million or 1 million that sells 1. It's the same thing, right? So now the record companies are banking on the 1 million that sell 1. You know, they don't want another Drake. They don't want another Kendrick Lamar. They don't want another Eminem, because then it's leverage and they have to pay them more. So they'd rather have millions of records that can keep you online long enough to get you to the next ad, to get you to the next sale.
Got you.
So that's why, like, for instance, AI and all of this stuff is so big, is if they can make a 30-second clip that keeps you engaged long enough to get you to the ad to extract the data from you,
Yeah.
then that's more than the record.
How do we fix it? Do you see a fix?
Yes.
Do you
But
have to go back to go forwards?
you have to go back. Like anything else, history repeats itself. For instance, when I came back a year ago, a year and a half ago, they said there's no way that you can make yourself relevant. It's a new world. You're 50 years old. This is a social media driven thing. Radio's dead. You don't know what you're doing. And I said, look, I'm going to go back to what made me famous. I'm going to do 1:30 radio breaks on Instagram instead of the radio and watch. And organically, without buying an ad, without buying a bot, without doing anything, I made myself relevant by just doing the same thing. Now, imagine if I had all of the elements. I had the apparatus of a record company. I had the budgets of a record company. And I also had the radio station. And I was doing Drink Champs with a mix show and a platform that was able to break music. It'd be over.
Yeah.
But getting the last year and a half has been explaining to people like Wall Street, who as soon as I say the word radio or organics, they hold up their cell phone and say it's all about this.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which is the same way that back in the day when I started at Power 106, they would say it's about Boys to Men. It's about, Artie the One Man Party, or this NSYNC, because it was in the middle of the Britney Spears NSYNC thing.
Right.
So they're like, it's all about this, and you want to do West Coast gangster rap? You're crazy. But once I did the West Coast gangster rap, look at the flood.
Right.
Imagine if I didn't break Jay-Z, if I didn't break Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, if I didn't, how different the landscape would be today.
Completely.
No Eminem, no 50 Cent, no any of this stuff would have broken the way that it did.
Talk your shit, Dave.
No, well, I'm just saying it takes people to go outside of the grain and do it based on, look, I played the records that were hottest in the street, not the records that the record companies told me to play. Right now, you are 100% at the mercy of these labels and what they're forcing down the chain. Yes, people create stuff in their rooms and stuff like that and get the momentum up a little bit, but as soon as it hits that peak, they're on to the next. They're not developing the talent.
No, it goes in and out so fast. Like, I can't tell you what a hit record is right now.
But that's the problem, even with the movie systems and the streaming systems and all of this, is they're not developing the content. They're trying to get the quick hit, quick fix, get the data, get out, because that's where the pressure is. But there's a whole, look, if 26% of Americans or half the world does not have internet, then that's half the world that you are missing.
Right.
That's half of the revenue you're missing. Think about that for a second.
It's crazy.
So there's all this money being left on the table, but for some reason, I can't get Wall Street to let me do it.
So we got to go back to go forwards.
But you also got to trust people. You have to be organic. You have to develop material, and people's patience for that is not there anymore. These labels are not set up as record labels anymore. There's no real A&R. It's acquisition. It's not. It's not even distribution anymore. They just want to take whatever has some momentum, live off of it as long as they can, and get you to the next thing.
So if you were going to start a label right now,
Yeah.
what would you do?
I'd find some really good talent and develop it like Motown. And then I would street team it. I would organic it. I'd put it out on tour. I'd do that and use everything. Look, there's no one formula, one recipe for any artist. Everybody has to be created differently off their individual momentum.
Okay.
And it wouldn't be that expensive, and it wouldn't be that crazy to think that you could develop talent today and have real stars, but it goes against the system.
So you just think one of the incubator system is just gone.
Totally.
And what you do is sign talent. See, this is my only thing. Most of you guys out there who are talent don't want to be incubated. Like, you guys want to be a star in like a fucking day. And that's just not how it works. And that's how we get to here. Because everything is so fast, it's like you want a microwave success. And that's just not how success is built. You need to build it up slowly but surely. And I agree with everything you just said. If you can build up a fan base and go through the hard part, which is building up the fan base and not just put records out, then you will have a
and
loyal
part of it is
fan
my
base.
fault. I mean, I built this system of how to release records, and then I just took my ball and went home. It collapsed. You know what I mean? The system of doing it. And I don't mean that from an arrogant standpoint. I mean, radio was so important and the system was so important that, I mean, look at those names and then what happened? It just went dark.
I want to talk about AI for a second.
Word.
You know how I hate AI personally.
I'm with you.
I want to make sure that the person gets the job. So for the record, I just want to say again, when you submit music to themanbehindthemusic.net, don't send me any AI music. I don't want it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to deal with it. Keep all the prompting music. You keep that. I don't want that.
There's licensing issues there.
But a ton of them, and we talked about that.
Copyright issues.
You know, because people are sending me AI music.
Can't do it.
I hate it.
It's not only hated and want organics and want artists and creators to be the main focus of what you're doing because you are a true artist in every sense of the word, but it's also when the drum machine came out, they didn't just hit the demo and let it play.
Right.
You had to be it. You had to use it. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Pro Tools just didn't, you hit a button and it automatically records the session.
No.
You know, it didn't obliterate the engineer. It didn't do all that. But look, like a live drummer to the MPC, like tape to a Pro Tools rig, there's elements of AI that you can use. But in the creative process, it has to be about the creator or it doesn't have soul.
And basically, it kind of goes back to the microwave artist thing.
Right.
Because I have a friend right now.
It's faking the funk. Just say it.
Yeah, for real. I have a friend right now who keeps sending me AI records. He's like, Tank, man, I got like 40 of these records, man. I can place these songs. And I'm just like, dog, like, listen, man, here's the thing. It goes back to what we were talking about. I would rather somebody incubate it, get good at their craft, and then let's build it from there. Because that's what the fans want. That's what you guys want to listen to. That's what you want to listen to. So send me those records. Let me get you some placements on these TV shows and get you paid.
And look, AI is going to be a part of our lives.
100%.
It just is. But we need to treat it like sampling. The artists need to get their credit. They need to be paid and compensated for the influence that they're giving it, like the Leslie Recuse thing. If it's an interpolation, you use AI to create a sample, then those artists work hard. They blood, sweat, and tears to make that music, and they need that credit. And AI right now is not at that point.
And maybe one day it changes. And maybe one day my stance changes, because 10 years from now, I want y'all saying, you said you hate AI.
No.
All right,
no,
I
the
might like it 10 years from now.
circumstances have to change.
Right now, the laws don't even support it.
That's what I'm
saying. So let's right now focus on
the
just making
brakes,
sure feeding ourselves. So, all right, so listen, Dave. On The Man Behind the Music, we have people submit music to us all the time.
What?
All right,
okay.
So because they want to get placements on the show.
Oh, wow.
I want to try.
Can I get a placement?
Of course,
I got Nate Dogg records on this. All you got to do is call my publisher, man.
No,
I just kidding.
So I want to play a couple records, and I want to get your opinion on it. I'm going to give you like a singing opinion from a music supervisor standpoint.
Yes, sir.
But I want to hear your opinion on the records. So DJ DT.
Yo, what up? What up?
Hey, man, play me some records. Play me like 3 records. Announce who the artist is, and let's see if we can find some heat.
I bet. This first one is Lana D, and the song's called Levitate.
All right, let me hear that.
That's eerie. I like that.
Yeah, we gon' talk, name a time and a place. Check the walk, but don't lie to my face. I got time, see the sign in the space. I was riding away, but I found it okay. Watch me levitate, take it to the top. This don't ever break, we will never stop. They gon' watch us levitate, take it to the top. This don't ever break.
So I like the joint. Like, to me, the beat was dope. It definitely sounds like something I could use on The Shy or on Ghost or just something contemporary, college-y, at a party or even in the background. So I think it's a dope record. So that's a pretty good song. I'm definitely going to look for, some opportunities for that record. What you think about it as far as...
I like it, but it's not different.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I love the eerie sample stuff in the beginning, but it just didn't change enough for me. You know what I mean? It's that same trap beat, thing that a lot of people do, but the melody was dope. I like the artist, right? But I would just like to hear
Something more.
A little more evolved. Like, let's do something different.
All right, so I'm gonna say for the right now, we're gonna put people dancing up, and we're gonna call that record 8, 7.5, 8.
I'm
seven
cool with
and a half,
that.
8?
I'm cool with that.
All right, so the people are dancing to it. All
Strong
right, cool.
7.5.
Yeah, so we got people dancing in the background. D, what else we got?
Marco Dean called this the Shy.
When I put up, hood up, hop out, cook up, my gun out like what's up. She talk shit, bitch, shut up. I like a slut, cut up. I pop a pill and nut up. She go to work in the morning, but last night had a butt up. I'm back on the block with the young boys, hearing the sirens and gun noise. When you see a cop, better run for it. Jimmy on the corner like run for it. This how it go when you live in it. I lost a friend in it, no pretend in it. I be they the same, but he is in the end.
I like it. Well, you go first this time.
I like it, but I think that artists today need more influence in songwriting.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Structure. I mean, it's good. I like a strong 7, 7.5, but I want a story. You know what I mean? And especially with a beat like that, where it's like it's going there. I mean, I don't know.
I thought the production was fire.
No, the production is fire. It sounds great. You know, but I want that songwriting.
I like his voice a lot.
I'm being too critical on it.
No, you're not being too critical at all. This is what you do. You know, and I want
I'm
the
an
audience,
asshole.
Not at all, but I want the audience to understand, like, this is what we're going through
Yeah.
when we're picking songs for scenes. You understand what I'm saying? So,
specifically for scenes?
Well, no, for radio. You're the radio, I'm the scene.
right,
I'm the scene,
all right.
you're the radio.
See, radio is the toughest gig in the world.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? To get on the radio,
it
it has to be, you have to think, like, this has to be a number one song, or
I
why
love
am I
that.
playing it?
No,
You know what I mean? So
honestly-
I'm way more critical than the average
Well,
fan.
I'm approaching things with that same kind of.
But for mood and
critical ear.
scenes, that's crazy.
Well, like to me, it sounded like somebody sneaking up on somebody.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Like it
Like-
felt like some bad shit was about to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially the intro, and then I like this voice, like I said.
Well,
so,
and if you have a scene with the girl that's doing the, you know what I mean? Like that story, that works.
you know what I mean?
You know what
So,
I'm saying? Sorry.
I'm gonna call that one an 8. I liked it a little bit better than the other one.
Yeah.
So we're gonna light the room up on that one. Let's fire up the room. I like that one. All right.
Dope.
So, all right, D. What else we got, DT?
All right, this next one, the artist's name is Pretty, and the song is called Coming For Mine.
Catch me rolling around in that big body. Cocaine right with the pearls on it. Caramel gelato on the inside with the Nina in case I gotta put a spell on you. I don't play about my money, nigga. I don't give out no warnings, nigga. Mind your manners and think before you speak, nigga. Trying to snuff me out some money on the back end, that's done wild. Now you getting slapped up with the blicky off the backhand. Leave you dumbfounded. Now I'm taking all the cash, nigga. That shit is all mine. I'm problematic with the pistol when you cross the line. Dot my eyes and cross my T's, I shake, nigga. You do the
All right.
That's just driving through the boroughs. You know what I mean? I like that.
All right, so that was hard.
Yeah.
That was hard.
The artist, you know, it dope, but like for now that I understand, I mean, scene wise, that'd be hard. Radio, it'd be a little difficult, but for just it gives you a visual. That beat was so different.
Right.
You know what I mean? That you know, all of that, that's so different. I like that.
So what stops that song from being on the radio? Tell Pretty.
Maybe a visual, and you know what I mean? Like just develop it. You know what I mean? Let people hear it everywhere. And I don't think it's stopping it from getting on the radio. I think it has a chance for it, though.
Okay. All right. So for me, whenever I hear records that are that hard,
Yeah.
like it would have to be a female like a Monet.
You have to understand, I'm the guy that put F you on the radio.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Ain't no fun on the radio.
Right.
I like aggressive and hard.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Pause.
And not like that. Pause, no diddy.
But no, listen, I understand that. So here's my thing: if I have girls doing work, like we have a girl named Shanti Showstopper on Force, who's always doing work, as she's about to do her work, I would definitely play that record. You know
Hell
what I mean?
yeah.
So it's the kind of record. It's for a specific thing. I do like the song, but it's for a very specific thing. So this is what I want
agree
you
with
guys
that.
to do. You guys heard a couple of the records, so you guys hear what we're listening to on The Man Behind the Music. Go to themanbehindthemusic.net, submit your songs. Hopefully there's something on there that we love.
And one placement can change your life.
Man, listen,
Trust me.
Right song, right scene. Y'all hear me talk about it all the time. So
them sync fees are bomb.
Hey, I'm not gonna get into that. But right now, I just want to thank my guy, Damizza, for coming out here to Vegas, being on The Man Behind the Music. Man, listen, man, what you've done for the culture.
Thank you.
My friendship with you, I just appreciate you in so many ways, and I want to thank you for all the artists.
Vice versa.
So,
and thank you so much for coming to our event. We had a synergy marketing event
of course.
And a panel, and music and sync and licensing and AI and all of that. You had such a great perspective on it, and thank you. We had Harvey Mason, we had Big Boy, we had Exhibit, we had Bobby D. I mean, we had all kinds of people there, and you really, out of everybody, had the most game to share. So I really appreciate that. And still, not just that, but just being the A+ person you are, reaching back out to people. I still hear people saying, I reached out to Tank and da-da-da-da-da. So thank you so much for mentorship. You know what I mean? Man. And mentoring these next cats.
And that's what we're supposed to do, right?
And that's it. That's all we can do.
Man Behind the Music, y'all. We out. Talk to you then. Peace.
Later.
This the man behind the music, they wondering what he's doing. Which beat machine is he using? Which artist is he improving? Trust it isn't fair, must we get the share? Drums is in the air, percussions with the snare. Keep showing his levels, grinding never settles. More than just the lyrics, it's more than the instrumental. Some will never know, work will let it show.